Chapter 14. The Attack. The northern Illinois skies were darkening, winds were picking up, and rain began to fall in Belvedere. Sir's attention was once again directed at his small television in the corner of the room. The local weatherman was warning of severe thunderstorms. Locally, we will be dealing with severe thunderstorms sweeping through our area most of the day and into this evening. These storms will produce strong winds and sheets of rain, causing low visibility and potential flash flooding. These conditions, combined with the sweltering heat in the region, are the perfect ingredients needed to produce tornadoes. So, please find shelter and stay indoors if possible. Sir listened to the rain hitting his windows and thought about getting Lincoln and Verona, but he figured they were most likely already at the YMCA. It didn't make sense to go get them in the rain. They would be there all day and would most likely wait out the storm before returning home. So, he refocused on the weatherman. Nationally, there are a large number of major weather events occurring. Along with the heat wave sweeping across the nation, the heat is being closely followed by gale-force winds, torrential rains, and severe thunderstorms. Just the last couple of days, wildfires have raged out of control in Northern California, Idaho, and Montana, burning thousands of acres of forests and endangering multiple communities. Meanwhile, the other side of the country is dealing with two separate Category 5 hurricanes that are wreaking havoc up and down the Atlantic coast. Most of the coastal cities are being told to evacuate. And if that weren't enough, floods are overtaking southern cities in Texas and Louisiana. Dozens of tornadoes have been spotted whipping through midwestern towns just south of us in Missouri, Kansas, and Nebraska. These happenings are unprecedented because the United States has never seen these kinds of weather events happening all at the same time. Locally, we should also expect some severe thunderstorms over the next 2 or 3 days. As Sir watched, the news station was picturing different areas of the country. Every clip depicted weathermen and women standing dangerously close to these weather events. The brave newsmen and women were either waist-deep in water, hovering in helicopters, filming streets with cars that were underwater and floating down the road, or they were uncomfortably standing near a blazing forest fire or a terrifying green and black funnel cloud. The National Guard has been deployed in 5 states around the country, and governors of 8 states have already declared national emergencies, the weatherman concluded by saying. If you have questions about what to do in case of a weather emergency or for some tips on how to stay free, please call the numbers below. Scrolling across the bottom of the screen, in a continuance loop were 2 telephone numbers, one for the TV station, and the other was the National Weather Service hotline. Even though it was early June and raining outside, the temperature had already cracked 90 degrees. Combined with the humidity, it was almost unbearable. Sir, however, felt cold. He walked to the hallway closet and grabbed another sweater. He threw it on and returned to his fireplace. Sir resumed his work, trying to revive his dying fire, when there was a knock at his door. Even though the kids weren't due back for another few hours, Sir thought maybe the YMCA sent them home early due to the weather. The old man got up and walked over to the front window to look outside. His attention was momentarily distracted when, on the television, Sir heard the familiar chime of breaking news. He turned back to the window and looked out. A man was standing on his porch, but the man was facing the opposite direction. He was tall and appeared to be wearing some kind of navy blue uniform. Sir did not usually have people knocking at his door, and he hadn't been expecting anyone. Sir looked down and noticed that he was still holding his fire poker. He looked at it for a long while, then gripped it tighter before looking back out the window at the unexpected guest. He walked to the door and opened it. Sir curtly asked, "Can I help you?" The man was facing the street, so Sir could not see his face. The man did not reply, but rather slowly turned around when he heard the homeowner's voice. Sir watched the man turn, and as he did, The man appeared to grow a few feet in size. Assur, who was already on edge and high alert, felt a familiarity with the man and quickly realized that it was not a man at all. Suddenly understanding what was happening, Assur coiled and swung at the figure with his fire poker, striking it on its shoulder. What once appeared to be a man had now completely transformed into a large wolf-type creature. The blow knocked the beast back a few steps, and it let out a high-pitched screeching sound. Assur was recoiling to strike again when it lurched at him, swinging its muscular arm at the old man. Assur quickly stepped back to avoid its razor-sharp claws and landed a second blow to the wolf's head, cutting the creature's cheek just below its left eye and slicing its face down to the creature's mouth with his fire poker. Again, the shapeshifter bellowed in agony, baring its large teeth and retreating out onto the porch. Assur attempted to slam the door shut, but couldn't because the creature stuck its large arm through the opening. The door slammed on the arm, causing another painful blow to Assur's would-be attacker. Assur opened the door, focusing on the injured werewolf, when just as he was loading up to strike it again, a second large wolf materialized through the rain and jumped through the open doorway, catching Assur off guard and pouncing on him, knocking the old man down to the floor. As he fell backward, his fire poker flew from his hands and clanged and clattered on the hardwood floor, coming to a rest at the foot of the great fireplace. The weight of the creature pinned Assur down, preventing him from being able to move. The first beast slowly gathered himself and walked through the door. It stood in the doorway, baring its fangs and bleeding from its face onto Assur's floor. Every drop of blood seemed to hiss as it splattered off the wood. The large wolf looked at Assur. While barely moving its mouth, Assur heard its deep, booming voice. "Keeper, we meet again. I've been waiting a long time for this day." Assur looked at the creature in front of him as recognition flooded the old man's brain. Then it came to him. He now remembered as if it were yesterday. The creature's name was Jinx. Assur had tangled with him before, a long time ago. Assur thought he had defeated him and believed he was gone for good. But there, Jinx stood like an avenging ghost, coming back to life to settle a score. Jinx edged closer as he spoke. "You have enjoyed a nice little run, but I'm afraid your time is up. I have a message for you." Although he was still bleeding, the wolf's mouth formed a sly smile. "At midnight, on the summer solstice, when the earth will become temporarily vulnerable because of the alignment of the sun, earth, and moon, we will attack. Thanatos, Gaia, and Phopter will make their triumphant return, and they will lead us into an era of chaos." Jinx paused for a moment, then continued. "Although it may be unnecessary, my job is to make sure there are no more keepers or little brats who think they're special left to try to stop us." Assur could not move his lips. He was unable to speak. It was as if his mouth was being held shut, even though it was not physically the case. Jinx transformed back into the shape of a human man and walked upright to the kitchen. After a very short search, the Scylla Jinni found a bucket under the sink. He filled it with water from the faucet and walked over to the fire. Jinx howled as he doused the flames. It sizzled in a thick cloud of blue smoke. And then, just like that, the fire went cold, and Assur let out a gasp. Jinx walked back over to Assur, looked down, and this time, much more quietly said, "Goodbye, Assur Qureshi, keeper of the flame. You have failed." At that, the second wild dog, pinning Assur down, bit into the old man's shoulder, penetrating his skin and bone. The bite was vicious and deep, and it sent a powerful venom straight from the underworld through Assur's bloodstream. As Assur was watching the two Jinn walk back out the front door, his eyes closed as he lost consciousness.